Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom's back. Welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now, I'm going to be reviewing the one-seater carbon fiber, but this is going to be different from how I usually do these kind of packs. And what I mean by these kind of packs are these one-seater, slick tire, motorsport kind of packs. In the past, I used to say that they are some of the best packs that you can ever open in the game, and that was true. But I do want to start today's video with an overarching theme or an overarching topic that is a little bit sad. And that is like slick tires are not what they used to be. They're not that exclusive. And they're not that cool anymore, Like the main thing is that slick tires used to be exclusive. They used to be these cars that really stood out against performance tire cars. And don't get me wrong, these slick tires that you see on the screen right now, they still stand out among slick tire cars. But back in the day, there weren't enough slick tire cars for them to be compared against each other and for them to be considered their own niche. So they had to be, compared with performance tire cars, and that's why they always stood out. But nowadays, there's so many slick tire cars where I just tend to compare them with each other. And this is where you start to see things that, truly fall apart. Like slick tire niche, yes, I get it. It's still an elite niche, but there are cars that are going to stand out and there are cars that are going to fall behind. So let me give you an example. This is every one-seater epic that you can get from the one-seater carbon fiber, right? Now, let me just show you how many freaking slick tire cars we have received within the last year. So the next thing I'm going to show you is that every single car, okay? So like I said, it's not exclusive anymore. Now we go back a year before World Expo. What would this pack look like, this one-seater carbon fiber before World Expo? That's crazy. That's actually crazy. So before World Expo, we were only gonna have like the Sylvia, the XJS, the 3 Mustangs, the Tuscan, and the 911. Like that is how freaking exclusive it used to be. All of these other cars that you're seeing, they're brand new. And the thing is, like I said, when they become less exclusive, they don't need to they start competing with themselves. Like there's so many of these slick tire cars now, they've become their own niche. Literally. And for those of you that are wondering why the Golf is canceled out, remember guys, that used to be an ultra rare, okay? So, in terms of epics, that's all we used to have. So it's kind of crazy. Actually, by that logic, then I should be putting in the Peugeot 306 Maxi, but I digress. It's actually crazy. So yeah, it just doesn't feel that exclusive anymore. And a lot of these slick tire cars are becoming a dime a dozen. So I just want to let you guys know, this is how I'm going to be judging these cars from now on. I'm going to be a lot more strict with slick tire cars now. Back in the day, if you're a slick tire, like, wow, you are exclusive, you are amazing, you're immediately Blossom choice. Now, I'm not judging these cars the same way anymore, so I just want to let you know. Okay, so into the tier list, as you can see, as always, of Der Kaiser, Daily Driver, Frequent Provider, Pernicious Ulcer, and Hot Garbage. And as you can see, unlike most videos, I've already started, by grading all of the epics. I'll get to that in a bit, because there was so much information that I knew that I was going to forget it immediately after I started recording, so I wanted to put the cars in their rightful places first, in my opinion. Now, moving on to Ultra Rares. Ultra Rares is still pretty curated. They're not a lot. Now, what is truly crazy, though, is that if we turn back the clock to just before World Expo, there would have only been one ultra rare, which is the Tipo Birdcage, which also, means that, this pack would not have existed before World Expo, right? Because everything else besides the Birdcage are, cars added before or after World Expo. So let's start off with the Birdcage. Yeah, it can stay there. I don't like it. It's really not that good. It's really overrated. Now, moving on is the GTA Cup. It's okay. It's a frequent provider. Honestly, yeah, frequent provider. That's the most I'm gonna give it. I'm not gonna give it Pernicious Ulcer. The thing about it is that, would I choose this or would I choose a Circuit AV? Honestly, 8 times out of 10, I would choose a Circuit AV. Moving on, the Giulietta TCI, that's Pernicious Ulcer. It's gone down in our queue. So I feel like it's a little better at 61 because it used to be like 63 or something like that, and it was just like super incredibly underperforming. Now it is 61. I guess it's a little bit better, but I still don't tend to use it as often because I would always go the extra mile to use a Maxi, or I would go the extra mile to use like a Zenith, for example. So pernicious ulcer. GTB Cup, it's very similar to the GTA Cup, but actually I'll bring it down a little bit because I'd rather use the GTA Cup over the GTV Cup in many scenarios, just because this handles a little bit better, and in those super twisty situations where this car is the shining light, like Slalom and G-Force, it tends to be the better car. G40 GT5 as an RQ50, I think is actually pretty good, so I'll give it a frequent provider. Obviously, we need to remember that the EV, even though is a car that I would choose more often, has also gone up in RQ. The Mazda MX-5 Cup seems okay. Again, you know, it's good. And if anything, I'm not gonna put it in the same. I'm gonna put the G40 down. Like I said, guys, I'm being very strict with stick tire cars now. I'm not gonna give them an exclusivity that I used to give them anymore. I'm literally comparing these cars against themselves and against some of the best cars, Blossom Choice cars in the game. Morgan Plus 4 race car. It's a freaking provider. It's alright. It's alright. I use it from time to time. Honestly, it's like Der Kaiser in terms of just Morgan, but we're not just comparing Morgans now, are we? So there you go. All right. So those are all of the Ultras. Now I want to talk about the Epics. Why have I already listed them where they are? Well, the only best way that I can show this to you is if I go to Top Drives Records. What I do, this is every one-seater, right? This is every one-seater that you can get from the pack. You have twisty and you have drag races. What I do is I start from the bottom and I go all the way to the top. So we start with the Mazda Zetus, right? So we got some times over there. Then we move on to the Alpha. And as you can see, in my opinion, this is a fair comparison. Like they're both RQ66. They're trading blows with each other, and I think that they are in a pretty decent spot. Then we move in the Lantis. And the Lantis becomes pretty decent at twisty circuit, fast circuit, and that's about it though. And at the end of the day, like it does seem like it's still very competitive with the Romeo and the Zetus, and I do think that this should also be 66, because I don't think it wins enough races for it to be 67. Maybe if you add some leniency to it, then maybe it could be slightly 67. Then obviously we bring in the Abarth, and the Abarth again, you know, it takes the karting, takes its twisty circuit, it takes its twisty road, right? And then we bring in the Porsche. And the Porsche is the best one there, but rightly so because it's RQ69. And we've said it in the past, as a 69, the 968 actually is pretty weak. And obviously, yes, it is going to be the better car, but it's not really saying much. Although it has the most wins, it still loses in like G-Force and hairpin and karting and slalom and canyon and quarter mile to, you know, cars that are inherently 3 RQs cheaper, you know? So you got to think about that. You know, I have to think about that when it comes to judging these cars. Like, yes, it's winning some races, but it's still losing to, you know, cars that are a lot cheaper than it. Then we move on to the Ginetta. Now, the Ginetta is like the first Der Kaiser, right? And because it's the first equalizer, it wins everything. Okay, so fair enough. It wins everything. 968 still kind of shines out in this scenario because it has an MRA, but like I said, if I were to put in 69 performance tire cars, especially like drag ones, this thing would be kind of useless. Then we bring in the GTA, and the GTA is pretty low rated because, as you can see, it makes no impact. It's actually the first car that we've seen going up in this increasing RQ level that has not been able to take any, you know, bright greens. It isn't the best in anything. We move on to the TCR, and it's the same scenario. It doesn't win anything. So again, you know, it's not very impressive. We move into the Mazda 3 TCR. Again, it doesn't win anything. And then we bring on to the Veloster. And the Veloster, again, okay, fine. It wins the fast circuit. It wins the fast circuit rolling in the Canyon Tour and the half mile. I guess some people might say it's not fair because these 4 cars are front-wheel drive, and the Ginetta that's been, you know, taking all the wins is rear-wheel drive. Well, then in that regard, that's why I put the Veloster in Der Kaiser. I put the TCR, I put both the TCRs in kind of like the second highest tier, and then I put the GTA in the lowest tier because, you know, the GTA still is the worst car out of the 4. Moving on to the TWR, I already know what's going to happen. It's the best car for the drags. There you go. But as you can see, the Ginetta is still holding the spot as an RQ69 compared to 73s. The Mitsubishi breaks things up a bit. As you can see, it becomes the best car for hairpin, indoor karting circuit, twisty road. But the Ginetta still holds on to car park G-Force, which is really impressive because this is a 5 RQ difference comparing this car. And then the next true equalizer is the Bufori, and that's why the Bufori is rated as high as it is. It is like, you know, the one that takes all of the wins. And then the Silvia makes no impact. Barely any impact, just a quarter mile. So that's why it's rated so lowly in my opinion, you know. And then after that, it's the Mustang. Again, no impact at all. Bufori is still the car, and the TWR is still the car for the drags. 911, no impact. So again, these 3, that's why they are at the bottom. They don't bring any impact. If anything, these 375s should go down. Then the X-Siege is the next big equalizer, and I don't even want to click this right now because it becomes so dominant for so long, so we'll skip that for a bit. Mazda comes next, and as you can see, the Bufori is still the better twisty car. So that is worth noting. And the Ginetta is still the best car park car. And now we're talking about, you know, almost a 10 RQ difference. Then we bring in the Morgan. The Morgan becomes the best car for the drag and the twisty circuit. But the Bufori is still holding on to a lot of first place, even though it's 75 and the Morgans, we're moving up to the 77s now. Then we have the Porsche RSR. Now the RSR kind of takes away what the Bufori brings to the table. The Ginetta, by the way, is still the best of the car park. Crazy stuff. But the Bufori is still holding on to G-Force, still holding on to Slalom. So this is how I determine the best of the best. Things that are able to hold on in these kind of scenarios. 924 doesn't win anything, unfortunately. Mustang doesn't win anything besides Twisty Circuit. It ties with the Morgan. And Mustang GT4 doesn't win anything either. So these are definitely not Der Kaiser levels anymore. Oh, I guess it's the best of the car park. But it really isn't the best of the car park, because the moment I unleash the GT3, which I will now, it wins everything. Yeah, so the GT3 is like, the Lotus Exige GT3 is definitely Der Kaiser. We all knew this. It starts trading blows with the Exige. That is, you know, it's 3 RQs higher. As you can see, it takes hairpin indoor karting circuit. Tuscan race car is the end-all be-all for the one-seater drags. So yeah, wins all that. And then the Ginetta G50 kind of caps it off, being the best all-rounder at car park and hairpin and all that kind of stuff. So now that we've seen that, I hope you guys can kind of understand why I've rated the cars in such ways. Things like these two Mustangs, they don't really win much, but they're still pretty strong, you know, like the 924. Then you have the really weak performers like, you know, the Alfa, the Porsche, then the 911, the Mustang, and the Nissan. So, right? So that's basically that. Now, the Legendaries, I'm going to use the same exact criteria, basically. Now, one thing that is truly OP is this thing right here. It's this Hyundai. So let's talk about that, actually, right? So let's go to Legendaries. We started the Quattro because, you know, there's a limit to amount of cars I can put in a comparison. So I can't add any more cars onto the Quattro, but all the other cars on the Quattro, I mean, let's talk about those real quick if you want, right? So the cars that are not included, the super low RQ ones. Basically the Ginetta GT4, which is pretty terrible. I'm gonna put it in pernicious. Also, Lee would want me to put this in hot garbage, but the 94 handling kind of saves it in my opinion. The Mustang M5 GT race car is frequent provider. The only reason why it's not hot garbage is because for an RQ80 that 3.0 0 to 60 actually really boosts its value a little bit. What else? Yeah, the Morgan, we all know this. The Morgan is just genuinely garbage beyond belief. And I think there's one other car. Yeah, the 155 is pernicious also. It's really not that good, honestly. The 0 to 60 is garbage. And the only reason why I'm not going to put it in hot garbage is because it has that niche of being a saloon. So without further ado, let's get into this. So Quattro, we begin. We're gonna do 111 for this because it's just a bit more coherent. Some of these newer cars don't have any 223 upgrades, so we'll do 111 again, right? So as you can see, immediately the Quattro is just kind of irrelevant. In terms of twisty, the legacy kind of wins everything, but it is still better in the drags. We're bringing the Nissan. Okay, there you go. The Audi is now completely irrelevant in everything, but it doesn't make the Audi useless because it is a saloon, and not a lot of these one-seater slick tire cars are saloons. But ironically, the B4 is. Which is its direct competitor, but they do trade blows when I put both of them together. Then we're gonna bring in the Mazda Sky Active. Now this also is a saloon, so this really brings down the value of the Audi Quattro DTM. Veloster comes in. Honestly, the Veloster not very impressive, I would say. Only taking Canyon Tour and Hairpin Road. Next up is the Megane Trophy, and it still is pretty okay. The Super Silhouette takes a little bit more wins. Now this is a car that I tend to kind of crap on a little bit, mainly because it doesn't have, you know, good MRA, but as you can see, it does tend to stand out amongst the 83s, and it actually really brings down the Veloster. The Veloster actually doesn't look that good, 2992 compared to 2992, well, they're both 2992. There's an MRA difference, right? So MRA 91, Veloster's is 79. Yeah, that Veloster, I'm gonna be honest, doesn't look very good. Doesn't look very good at all. Evora comes next. That takes a lot of wins. Yeah, that's the first equalizer. Monte Carlo is trash. Doesn't really bring much to the table besides slalom because it's light. 757 takes all the wins, but then again, there is an RQ jump with 3 from 85 to 88. 917, as you would expect, takes the drags. And then you have the 911 GT3, which got a huge nerf, and it doesn't have that amazing MRA anymore. We still don't know the numbers, actually. And yeah, it's a little sad. I mean, over here it says 106 MRA, but the high range acceleration is decreasing. As you can see, it doesn't really win much, just car park. Then we have the 936. Now, that's a very good one, the 936. The A5 DTM, again, it seems solid, a lot of greens, but it doesn't win anything. Nismo doesn't win anything. G55, now this is the next one. The G55 Ginetta G53. Now this takes, or GT3 takes a lot of wins. We move on to the McLaren that doesn't make a dent. 911 GT3, it makes a decent amount of damage to the GT3 G55. 956, yes, very strong. McLaren 650, yes. No, brings no difference. R390 makes a difference. Continental makes no difference. 720S makes no difference. The Genesis, we don't talk about that. It's too OP. 495. Audi, yeah, all right, makes a little bit of difference, but obviously we're moving up from 93s and 95s. The Porsche RSR, not a lot of times for this. I think it got a recent change and no one's updated this. And I don't have this car at 1 star anymore. Mine's upgraded, so we won't actually know. But I know based off the fact that the RSR is ridiculously strong. If I were to compare them, you know, with just maxed out, it gives you an idea that it is better than the Audi. So yeah, it's a very strong car. And then moving on, 962, it's a dragster. It just is a dragster. But also it is a really good twisty car if you don't consider the Genesis. The Brabham, whatever, people are mad when I pronounce it because I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. It doesn't really make much of a dent. It's overrated. The Brabham is overrated. And I'm gonna treat it like the Lotus Evija. You know how the Lotus Evija is like, yeah, amazing MRA, but the stats are like a little bit overinflated for its RQ. That's what the Brabham is. But unlike the Evija, this thing can't. I mean, yes, it has the best MRA here, but it's not that much of a difference. It's not that big of a difference where it's going to take down the 962. The Evija has 130 or something like that. This is 110. It's just not good enough anymore. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's overrated. It should go down to like a 96, 95 maybe. 935 is great. As you can see, takes wins, trades below to 962. And of course, Müller. Müller at 111, again, is the best car there. Now we gotta talk about this Hyundai, dude. It's freaking overpowered. Ready? I'm gonna press it. Yeah. Oh, that car is good. That Hyundai is good. That is the car of the update. Why is it so low in RQ? Because it has a low top speed. That's it. It's a discount version of a Volkswagen IDR. Incredible 0 to 60, incredible MRA, super lightweight, incredible handling. The only reason why it's not in that level of RQ with the Brabham and the Porsches, it's because it has no top speed. But clearly, having a low top speed doesn't really matter because it's still the best car for the quarter mile and one of the best cars for the half mile. In fact, if I took away the 962, it becomes the second best car, or actually the third best car, only behind the two Porsches, behind the half mile. It still beats the 110 MRA Brabham in the half mile, which is depressing to say the least for the Brabham's part. But anyway, now that you know that and how I basically, you know, judge these cars, we're gonna just put that into practice, right? So the A5 DTM is all right. I'm gonna give it a daily driver. LMS GT3 is all right, right? The Quattro, not that good anymore. It's actually kind of trash. The Continental doesn't seem that good. This thing, it's not that good. Picture's great though. Ginetta G55, it's a standout. I'm gonna give it Dirk Kaiser, right? The Veloster is garbage. Okay, is it too mean to put in hot garbage? Should I put in pernicious ulcer? Maybe. Monte Carlo is pernicious ulcer. The Evora is strong, daily driver. The Mazda 6 is it's okay. It's the best for the saloon niche, so that's why. The Mazda 717C, again, this was not in the comparison. I'll put it in like pernicious. I'll give it freaking better. It actually handles really freaking well. The 757 is rightly rated, you know, daily driver, sure. The McLarens, all of the McLarens are actually just mid-tier. To be honest, they're just not that good. And they should go down in RQ. All three of them should go down in RQ together for them to be more relevant. Nismo Z, again, it's just okay. R381 is just okay. The R30 race car is good though. I'm gonna give that to Kaiser still. The Sylvia, it's actually okay. I'm gonna give it daily driver, even though I've given it a lot of crap in the past. The two Porsches are still ridiculous though. They're still really, really strong. Only stumbled upon by the freaking Hyundai, which I think we've already rated. Yes, have we? I think we did. I think I put it into Kaiser. Yeah, I literally put it at the top. It's the first car there. Deservedly so. GT3 again. Pernicious ulcer, I would say. There's not a lot of times for it still, but for now I'm going to put in pernicious ulcer. The RSR is still really strong, and I'm actually going to give it to Kaiser. It's up there with those Porsches. For an RQ95, it's really rightly rated. It's one of the best 95s in the game, in my opinion. 917 is really good, daily driver. 962, I would say, is still fantastic. Both of them, or 962 and 956. 935 is ridiculous. Oh, sorry, I meant these two Porsches as the top dogs. But the GT3 is actually still very strong, so I don't mind leaving it there. 936, again, it had a lot of wins. Magon Trophy was really good for an 83, and the B4 was really good for an 81. So that's just my opinion, and hopefully now I show you how my brain works. I just get every car in the pack, and I just work from bottom to top, and I just see what, you know, the standout performers are. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. In reality, I don't think that this is like the best pack to open anymore. It's really balanced, as you can see. The only scenario where I would see this pack being a win, like on all accounts, is that if you're a newer or a new to intermediate kind of player, because at the end of the day, the slick tire niche is invaluable. It's still really, really strong. But when you become a bigger player, when your garage becomes stronger, when you have some of these slick tire cars, or a lot of these slick tire cars, a lot of them just become redundant. So if you're a new player, I think it's fine. The pack is still great value. But if you're more of like, you know, a more advanced player like myself, or like Uncle, or Cannon, or Kevin, or Chickens, this pack is not all that anymore, to be honest. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree. But I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac.